James Edwards here as the Political Cesspool rolls on this Saturday evening, May 15th. We are now joined by our featured guest for the evening, Tom Baugh, author of Starving the Monkeys. He's been on twice before to promote that book, and we'll certainly be mentioning it again this evening as he appears with us. But the reason we're having Tom on this evening is because in addition to being a accomplished author, he is also a columnist, and his columns can be read at the website for this radio network, libertynewsradio.com. And when I read Tom's most recent article that was published earlier in the week, I was absolutely spellbound. Not only did we immediately put up a link to it on our official blog on our website, I immediately contacted Tom and said, listen, we got to have you on to break down that column for the listening audience. And with that being said, let's welcome back to the program Tom Baugh. Tom, how are you?
Doing pretty good, James. I'm really happy to be back, and I want to thank Liberty News Radio for picking me up as a columnist for their network. That's quite an honor.
Well, you've got a lot to contribute, Tom. As people will know, we've been getting some very favorable emails about that column as people have come to see it on our website this week. Of course, it's still prominently featured there, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us what that column was all about. Break it down, and let's move forward from there.
The basic idea is that our society has become deliberately feminized. It has been controlled by opinion makers in New York and D.C., and I don't think that's surprising news to anybody. But along the lines of Starving the Monkeys, Fight Back Smarter, the book, that article points out one possible way that we can fight back and put these people in their place. Because as we've seen in Greece, and as the people in Birmingham, Alabama know all too well, the bankers in New York are some of the most criminal people in the history of the world. And they do terrible things to people's economies. They're terribly destructive. And for decades, we've had a rabid dog which has been going out and biting people all over the world, and we haven't had the guts to do anything about it. And now, while we've been out essentially defending them after 9/11, they've started turning around and robbing us blind even more boldly than they have before. Because effectively, we've built a fortress around them, and we've called that fortress the Department of Homeland Security. And so, while these people are robbing us blind, while this rabid dog has now turned on us, we haven't had the guts to do anything about it. And so what I'm proposing in that article is if New York won't lay down these economic weapons that they've been using on us, I propose we simply turn our backs on them. Let whatever happens to them happen. And the impetus for this article came when a couple of weekends ago there was terrible storms here in the Southeast. Dozens of people were killed. And what was the lead story? Oh no, Times Square has been threatened again. Some guy put together some bomb made out of fireworks, and okay, terrible thing, I'm sure. But to the New York media, the only thing that matters is their problem. Nobody seems to care what's happened to Birmingham, Alabama, where New York bankers have come in and basically destroyed that city and tried to enslave everybody there. And I want to throw out to any of your listeners, if any of you listeners out there can get me a microphone in Birmingham, let's see what New York is afraid of. Because I'd like to have a discussion about that. Because I think there's some very simple things that Birmingham can do to take the teeth out of New York, along the lines that Arizona is doing with immigration. You know, we've talked a lot in some of these articles that I've written and some of the shows that we've had about the states taking back power from D.C., and I know there's a lot of my readers out there who are a little concerned about my position on Arizona, but I've got to tell you, James, my position with Arizona is anything that a state can do to thumb their nose at D.C. and their financial masters in New York, I think is a good thing.
Amen to that, Tom. Absolutely.
Because nobody has to live there if you don't want. Nobody has to do business with them, but I bet Arizona will be surprised how many people will start doing business with them because of this.
Well, Arizona, we've covered this at length, and I don't want to get off topic because the topic, rightly so, is your column here. But, yeah, Arizona is blazing a trail that many states are beginning to follow. And for the first time in my career as a political activist, I'm beginning to see some hope that the rudder of this country may be turning. At least there is some resistance now beginning to form, and Arizona is obviously at the forefront of that. But Tom, back to the subject at hand.
Right, and I think that's a great thing that they're doing. We may not agree with them politically, but anything they can do to take away power from D.C. is important. Then this country has been taken away from us. And it doesn't really matter what your religious or ethnic background is, it's been taken away. And if it's been taken away, is it our country anymore? Then why are we putting on uniforms to defend the interests of somebody in New York City? And in the next segment, I want to talk about the people in New York City. But why are we putting on uniforms? Why are we sending our kids to go fight and die and get maimed for those people? Because when I checked on 9/11, we didn't get attacked. Georgia didn't get attacked. Tennessee didn't get attacked. Texas didn't get attacked. New York and D.C. got attacked. And they got attacked by people who could have done nothing to someone in Memphis, could have done nothing to someone in Atlanta, if we hadn't already been disarmed by the people in New York City and D.C. Terrorists pose no threat to those of us out in the heartland, no threat whatsoever. There's no terrorist plot that can last more than a few minutes out here before an armed citizenry would put a stop to it. So we're not at risk from terrorists. They are.
You know, Tom, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to interject. What an incredibly astute observation that is. And I guess I've always noticed it, but I didn't ever break it down to such succinct wording. You're exactly right. Exactly right. And yet, the more that those, as you put it, in New York and D.C., the power brokers, are attacked, it seems as though the more we come to assist them, and the more that Southerners go to fight battles on their behalf, the more disdain they show for us and our culture. It's a very strange relationship, and it's one that we should certainly dissolve ourselves from.
Absolutely. Well, there's plenty of things that we need to be doing in our own states. If a young man wants to serve his country, let him instead serve his state. Let him join a militia. Let us organize state guards out of the control of the national defense establishment. And let's swear our oaths to defend our states from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And then let's see how much New York is willing to create financial destruction in the world and the rest of the country when they find out that there's nobody that's got their back. Do they want to form their own militias? Do they want to get in their own tanks and those millions and millionaires and go out there and fight their own wars? I don't think they would.
Well, hey, Tom, we got to take a break, but we're on to something very hot, and I've got some interesting observations and questions to pose to you when we return. Tom Baugh is our guest. We'll be back right after this.